I created a make flow that will save podcasters hundreds of hours per year by automating guest vetting responses. I'm going to show you how. Learn how you can set up this automation in 4 easy steps here in Make. Before we get into the details, let me talk a little bit about how this flow is going to work. So first of all, the issue that many of my podcasting friends are having is they're getting overwhelmed with people wanting to be on their podcast, right? And so one thing that takes hours and hours of their time is needing to vet each and every single guest. And so what I did is created a flow that reads the new emails in the mailbox. It analyzes if the request is a legitimate request for getting on the podcast using AI. If the AI decides and realizes that this is a guest, it will send an automatic jot form over here, as it's an example, with very specific information that matches the requirements of the podcast to get on it. And if it doesn't, then it does nothing. It just ignores it. We can do many other things with it, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we're just gonna keep it simple. Okay, over here, I have set up a quick email for us to test so that you guys can see how it works. So I'm gonna send an email from another email address that I have to my podcasting email. We're gonna run this once. And then it's gonna check for the emails. Let's see what we got. Analyzed it, determined that it was a guest, sent the form, and it is marked as read. So if we go back to our test email address over here, it says, thank you so much for being part of, well, I've done a few tests prior. Please fill out this form considered. Here's what we're looking for. And it was sent just a few minutes ago. There you can see, works quite well, very simple. Let's get into the build. All right, let's go through this flow step by step. First, we have a check emails module. The filter type is set to simple. It only reads the unread emails, of course, and it's checking the all mail. You can also select different kinds of folders if you have them over here, if you're scheduling them or separating the emails as they come in. But for most people, I know it just lands in their inbox. And this is going to check every 15 minutes. We can set this to every day if we'd like to, and it's going to check all the messages that came in for the day. And yeah, so once the email comes in, it's going to run this. It's going to check for emails from that specific time period, and it's going to run them through this agent over here. So here we have the OpenAI assistant doing the assessment for us. The prompt isn't very sophisticated, and that's okay because not all prompts need to be super sophisticated. I'm just saying that you're an email expert classification, expert, double expert. Your job is to identify if an email is from a guest. If you know that it's a guest because they typically have a question about wanting to be on the podcast, a little bit of context helps. Once you have identified the email is from potential guests, you should either respond in the following way. If the guest is simply respond guest. If it's not a guest, respond not guest. Do not respond to anything else. And then down here, we add the text of our email from the beginning. If you click over here, you'll see that we have a bunch of options from the previous module. So all we need to do is click and put the text, and it's going to analyze the text. And then it is going to either output whether it's a guest or if it's not a guest. So over here, you will see the result is guest. And then this is where make comes in very handy when we're doing conditional logic, is that we can say, hey, if this result is guest, then go ahead and follow through with the rest of the automation. And if it's not a guest, then don't worry about it. Just stop right there. And then we're not going to have emails sorted and marked as read that haven't been actually processed according to how we need them to be processed. So once we have the guest, it's going to continue with the automation. And we say, hey, new email. Thank you for your interest in the podcast. Here are the next steps. Please fill out this form to be considered. Here's what we're looking for. And then we put the form over here. And the form looks something like this, just a very simple form. Why would you like to be on the podcast? What's your area of expertise? Please provide URLs of other podcasts you've been on. And of course, we can customize this to be whatever you need it to be for your specific criteria for the podcast. And then let's go back to our make scenario. Once that's been done, it's going to send the email just like you saw in my inbox. And then we pop it over here and we're going to mark it as read so that we know that email has been sorted. Of course, there are other things that we can do over here with our make scenario. We can classify this email and put it into a different folder if you want to organize the inbox a special way. So this is just a quick and dirty, very simple example of how you can auto sort and send a form to try and make the vetting process for your podcast so much easier, so much more efficient. We did the math, and this could literally save hundreds of hours over the course of a year if you include the dud episodes that happen because the vetting process isn't as efficient as it needs to be. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be back soon with another video about what we do with the form and have AI agent actually analyze the form and give us a lead scoring mechanism to determine whether or not they're good or if they're not, if they're good or if they're not good. We'll see in that one.